because he usually.
There doesn't really have to be a,
Where's Bruce?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, where is Bruce?
Right here. Right. Oh,
No,
Brian. Oh.
Yeah. There, yeah, I did. Yes, May had. Yes, everything is May.
Which one?
Ray just walked in.
And it's,
Brian, remember, you've lost with more and won with less.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Yep. Like you said, I mean, I got to read and I said, you gotta be. It's never black.
I'm not gonna do the pension thing, I guess.
Oh, and that?
No, because
I'm coming from an Elk Creek trail place. Night and day difference.
we have to follow protocol when I go to the pension committee.
I went upstairs for the sole purposes to look at those drawings, and I didn't even look.
Even though I saw him yet on Sunday,
I'm sure we're going to be seeing lots of that, right?
we were shooting skeet over at the.
Wonder if Bruce is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, they've done that for years.
Yeah, it's on the internet.
Yeah.
Like,
That's nice. Yeah. Overland's real nice.
So, just because the holidays, I guess.
I guess you
I heard that.
Does that now free you up, I hope, to go to Florida so you can relax and not have to
We're all
worry
set.
about it? Because that's the only reason I did it.
I'm coming back in February. That's it. I bought my ticket already.
Let's call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, please have roll call
Sure, Mayor Kedzierski,
here.
Councilmember Tinalis for the second time only,
Present.
Councilmember Cusick,
Present.
Councilmember Gazelle,
Present.
Councilmember Bisbal,
Here.
Councilmember Barrett.
Here.
I assume we should have a motion to excuse Dr. Angeloni.
Yes, we invite a motion to excuse Dr. Angeloni from today's meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. On page 3 to 7 are the minutes from the last November 17th meeting. Please take a look at them, and if they're okay, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Also on pages 8 through 11 are various committee and commission minutes. Again, all we're doing is accepting them in the public domain.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
At this point, any public comment on agenda items? Well, our next item is the presentation of the Ralph Wilson plaque. Is Mary Owen here? Mary? Oh, thank you. Well, thanks to our chief, Police Chief John Schulte, we have a beautiful plaque here, and we would like to present this on behalf of Ralph Wilson. We're so
it's
proud.
taped,
Oh,
so.
it's taped. We're so proud that he called Grosse Pointe Sheriff's home for over 40 years. And we're gonna find the most prominent place in the building to install it, so.
Thank you. Wonderful.
He's a wonderful person, a great man, so.
Well, on behalf of our family, obviously you know how much you care about the shores and Grosse Pointe and this whole community so much. So we're very much looking forward to using the Ralph Wilson Junior Foundation to give back and invest back in the community as well as Southeast Michigan and West Michigan.
Thank you for coming. Ralph could have lived anywhere in the world, but he chose Grosse Pointe Shores. So it's a wonderful commentary on our city. The next item is appointments to the boards, committees, and commissions. Tina and Doug are new. I'd like to appoint Doug as the liaison to the Election Commission, the Tree Board, and the Finance Committee. I'd like to appoint Tina to the Senior Citizens Group liaison, the Improvement Foundation liaison, and the Park and Harbor Committee, that Bob Brett will continue to chair. Bob Gazelle was our highest vote getter, and our practice has been to award the Mayor Pro Tem to the highest vote getter, so I'm pleased to, nominate him for Mayor Pro Tem. And Dr. John Siegel, application's been sent to everyone. I'd like to approve him as the open member for the Park and Harbor Committee. I invite a motion for these appointments.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If so, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. Rhonda, reports by chairpersons. And you're dressed so festively for Christmas.
I tried. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
In your packet, you have the transactions for December, starting off with the wire transfers. There's really nothing unusual here, other than the payment to Grosse Pointe Woods for our Blue Cross premium for January. That has increased from the last quarter's monthly payments, and that is not unusual. I just was hoping it wasn't going up as high, but hopefully the following quarter we'll see the numbers come back to normal. In your listing of the checks issued since the last meeting, you'll notice several checks issued for the holiday decorations, along Lake Shore and Vernier, along with our buildings. There's also on the first page a check to Asphalt Control for concrete replacement projects. The second page, you'll see a check for Dittman Tree Service for tree trimming. On the third page, towards the center of the bill, the listing, there's a bill for Detroit Salt Company, because tis the season now for the salt. Hopefully we won't be using as much this year. There's also a check for Michigan Joint Sealing for joint sealing done on Willow Tree. And on the last page, you'll notice a check to Taser International for taser and supplies for our tasers. Do you have any questions regarding any of the other checks that are on this register?
Rhonda, the check for concrete replacement, 6,500, that was Willow Tree?
Asphalt Control, I believe it was several
Oh, several trees,
sections.
okay.
Not necessarily Willow Tree.
Okay.
The Michigan Joint Sealing was the Willow Tree project.
Which one was the salt? I'm sorry.
On the third page, towards the center, Detroit Salt Company. It's check number 32595.
Are there any further questions about the check run? It's a check run totaling $368,000. I need a motion to approve this.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thanks. Thanks, Rhonda.
Okay, and then the balance of your packet, you have the revenue and expenditure reports along with the balance sheets for the various funds within Grosse Pointe Shores. At this time, there's really nothing that stands out. At the next meeting, we will be presenting budget amendments to be made for the 6-month period into the budget. Tax bills have been mailed out and payments are coming in, and it's pretty steady now. Water bills, hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have those out in the mail. And then I just want to mention that last week, Mr. Wallenweber, Mr. Bisbal, and Mike Gormley from Hutchinson Shockey and I took a trip to Chicago to meet with Standard & Poor's. I think the meeting went very well, and hopefully tomorrow we will find out the decision on our bond rating.
Well, I thank you for doing that, Rhonda, with Bruce, and I think Bruce said he had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make that flight. So
Yes.
I want to applaud your efforts to
We
meet
were all
with
on
Wall
time.
Street representatives with their bond council. So thank you.
Thank you. And everyone, please have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. You as well.
Bruce, anything to add, or?
Not really. The presentation was to 3 analysts in Chicago, extolling the virtues of our community, our creditworthiness, our lack of debt. We only have 2 bond issues at this point outstanding. We just paid off a bond in October, so that our long-term financial outlook is stable, if not improving. We have over $1 million. We have 22% of our general fund and reserves. They look for 25% as a target. We adopted the resolution last month to do that. So I'm pretty optimistic about where we're gonna end up tomorrow. We'll be the second community, hopefully, in Wayne County with a AAA credit rating, the farms being the other one, so. The Finance Committee is gonna, next meeting will be in February, the day after the council meeting, at that point, so. That's what we're doing.
Well, thanks again, Bruce. Right now, we have the second highest rating available, which is AA+, and that was recently upgraded 2 years ago. So there's only one community, and out of the 43 communities in Wayne County that can say they're AAA. So that's our goal here. If you can reach AAA rating, our bond council is estimated we can save an additional $18,000 a year if we refinance our major bond, which covers the marina. So, thanks again, Bruce, and Rhonda and Mark for taking the time to travel to sunny Chicago to meet.
It was 51 and sunny. It was a beautiful day.
Well,
So we got home at 8:30 at night.
oh,
That's a lot.
well, thanks again. Chief, Public Safety Report?
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. You see in front of you the November calls for service. It was again a very routine month. The weather's cooperating and we haven't had many traffic accidents, so that's good. I wanted to give a special recognition to a longtime serving public servant in Grosse Pointe, Al Fincham. Currently the city manager in Grosse Pointe Woods will be retiring on January 13th, 2016. Skip has been a friend of mine for a long time and a great friend to law enforcement and public safety. He began his career in Grosse Pointe City. He rose to become the director of public safety and then the assistant city manager. Then on to Grosse Pointe Woods as the director of public safety and currently as the city administrator. Skip was very influential in my career. He'll be missed and we wish him all the best in his retirement. We continue to generate high definition video from the 3 camera locations that are in service. We're working through a few bugs and we've had some interesting conversations with Comcast in regards to billing. So we're staying on top of that. My officers have attempted to manage the construction traffic on Lakeshore. We've received several calls in the 600 block of Lakeshore. There's a large amount of trucks. They are attempting to landscape the property while the weather cooperates, and hopefully this project will be completed soon, but we understand it's been a disruption to southbound traffic, and we're attempting to manage that as best we can. I've been attending and working with Park and Harbor to secure bids for the card access system for the City Hall Park and the dog park, and just this morning I presented Councilman Barrett with the completed bids that we have for those 3 locations. So I'm sure Park and Harbor will be looking at that. Finally, the Public Safety Department has provided written thank yous to those residents who have remembered the officers with baked goods and holiday meals during this time of the year. I would like to also publicly thank them for their generosity. It is greatly appreciated. My officers, they've come into some wonderful meals, baked goods, etc. So we're very grateful for that. And with that, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a great, safe, and New Year.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks.
Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Looks like a very quiet month, and that's good. That's why we like it. Brett, Public Works?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Once again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of your Public Works Department, and I expect to be quite brief this afternoon as well. Our leaf pickup has come to an end. The scheduled end date for our leaf pickup was December 3rd. However, with the unique weather we had this year, we decided to extend the program for a week. It went very well. However, it put your Public Works Department behind a little bit on some of the other things that we normally get done. And that is winterizing our bathhouse that we have at the park, the outdoor drinking fountains, and actually just getting things ready for snow. We're still digging out snow plows, and here it is the middle of December. We hope to be caught up by the end of the week, and we'll be ready for anything that happens to show its face as far as snow is concerned. So far this season, we've already had 6 water main breaks, which is kind of unique. It's a little bit higher than normal, but it's nothing to be alarmed about. You may have seen some night construction. That's usually what it is. For some reason, these breaks only happen at night, but just to give you a heads up on that. Our Christmas decorations throughout the village, I think, look great, and I'd like to say thank you to, and a job well done to everyone that helped us out here, mostly the Public Works Department, the staff here, and there's always somebody here helping out, trying to make this building look beautiful and our community. So, again, job well done. Another thing I thought that was kind of nice is we had the opportunity to run our street sweeper through our entire city in the month of December. Very unusual, but it sure made our streets look good. I mean, I think things are really out there looking great. Next, our community calendar that is scheduled to be delivered this coming Friday. Please keep an eye open for it. Lori upstairs does a wonderful job putting it together, and it is very informative. They should be coming in today, and they're supposed to get stuffed the next couple days, and we'll deliver them on Friday. And on a final note, on behalf of your Public Works Department, we'd also like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if there's any questions I can answer, I could try at this time.
Any questions for Brett? Brett, did the work in the bathhouse get finished? The restrooms particularly, the women's and the men's?
We have a lot of work going on in the bathhouse. The partitions are done. I think they look great. Be more than happy to come by and take a look. We have a lot of other little challenges that we plan on working on in the
Okay.
winter. We have some tile repair.
Okay,
We wanted to scrape some ceilings in the outside bathrooms.
Okay.
I was just talking with Councilman Barrett regarding some ventilation. But this is the time of year that we take care of that stuff, and
good.
we'll go for it and get things ready for spring.
And Brett, the intersection, what's the latest on that? Is that
Well,
gonna occur?
It's going to occur, not as fast as we would hope.
I mean,
I think we all noticed, we have a bunch of sticks with some markers on them. Those are locations of utilities and where things are gonna go. It's our hope that we can get underground work done before the frost gets in the ground. We're still expecting to do that. Waiting on contractors is one of those things that everybody is stuck with doing, and right now that's where we're at. We're in a holding pattern. This project, I understand, was supposed to be done by Thanksgiving, and it's just not going the way we expected it. However, I think when things are done, everybody's gonna be quite happy.
thank you.
Brett, is Dittman done with the tree trimming program? I know, we just approved a check for 15,000, so I imagine.
Yes,
they're-
he's, that was a large portion of our trimming. We should be just about done. We have a few streets that need to be completed yet, but the major part of all the trimming is done.
Okay,
Edgewood subdivision with all the locust trees require a lot of time and effort, and that area is done, and they're gonna move to Vernier, and it's about.
okay, good. Good work.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brett. Park and Harbor, Bob?
Couple of things, Mayor. We had a meeting about a week and a half ago. We continue to work on plans for the Park and Harbor, the entrance and stuff like that. We plan on having a Saturday morning session from 10 to 12. And I like to do it the Saturday prior to the next council meeting, if that's all possible. And which is January 9th. And in this conference, in this room. We'll send out notices to everybody, and anybody's gonna be welcome here to come feedback for the park entrance. Remember, we had a lot of questions about overstaffing, not overstaffing, over amount of people there. You know, should we have a quota, how many people can come in the park, stuff like that. Secondly, the master plan just came back to the city, and that's being evaluated from Albert Kahn Associates. They did the other one in 2001. And we want to revamp that program. A lot of the work that was in that program is done. And so it's time to sit down, put it together, and work on the next part of the project. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Key things.
Oh, the main thing with Park and Harbor is the town hall, the purpose of the town hall is to solicit citizens' input regarding the utilization of the park by potentially non-residents. And the size of the picnics for the pavilion, other areas in the park, we have limited parking, and we've had concerns or complaints during the year about people not being able to park on the weekends. So we're trying to see, we're one of the few parks that doesn't have an entrance guard right at the boundary line. So anybody can park there. They can park in this lot, but across the street, when people want to utilize the park, they can't find a parking spot Sunday afternoon, Saturday afternoon. And we found that some of the picnics are in excess of 50 people, in excess of 80 people, 100 people. So that's something that we're trying to address. Also with the dog park, whether or not, we should have some kind of ID coupled with a dog license. Dogs are required to be licensed, so every year when you get your updated tag, we're trying to figure out the technology to couple it so that you would get a scannable card or a fob that can access the dog park. Again, this is a resident amenity, and we're trying to make sure it stays a resident amenity. So, Bob, thanks for your work on that, and we've looked at the park applications, the pavilion and park applications for picnics start April 1st, and there's always a long line of people trying to sign up and take the most favorable dates, but we have to find something that works in the best interest of the city. That's our goal, and it's gotta work for all of us. Brian, legal report?
Okay, since the date of the last city council meeting on November 17th, the city attorney's been engaged in the following activities on behalf of the city. First, we consulted with the city regarding its compliance with advanced life support requirements under the Michigan Public Health Code, and we reviewed in that context a contract that some of the other point communities have with an entity called MedStar. We also reviewed multiple items of correspondence and some pending legislation regarding the Metro Act. We consulted with the city regarding land division matters at 984 Lakeshore Drive. We prepared several advice letters and memoranda to the city regarding Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act issues. We also consulted with the city regarding the city receipt of gifts and in turn expenditures of gift money by the city. We conducted several telephone conferences regarding qualified appraisers to retain in connection with several pending Michigan tax tribunal cases, property tax cases. We've been involved in continuing discussions with the city planner and a developer regarding 55 Deeplands Drive. Deeplands Drive. I'll note that nothing has been submitted by the developer yet that could amount to city consideration at this point. In other words, nothing before the planning commission. That's tentative at best right now. We also prepared, filed, and served responsive pleadings in 3 pending tax tribunal cases. And we also advised the city regarding acceptable forms of retirement gifting to former city employees. That's my report for the month.
Brian, is there any change regarding the lot that we acquired at the foreclosure sale?
No.
I've had a couple of phone calls.
We're still considering options.
What our options are, okay.
Potential sale and
Okay,
other purpose of the sale and so forth.
okay, good. Mark, manager's report?
Sure. Item 11 today is off the agenda. We're forwarding it at the mayor's suggestion to the pension board, and we'll come back to the council with that information and hopefully a recommendation from them in January. Just as a, kind of always say this when there's a new council elected, but there are there's an option. If anyone from council would like to have their GP Shores email for municipal business, please let me know. We can arrange that. As you may know, there are Freedom of Information Act issues if your own private email is used for that people could FOIA your emails and stuff. So if you want to set one up, just let me or Tom know. Secondly, just as a general, for general information, requests of staff or to the city attorney usually go through the mayor or me, just so everyone is coordinated and know about them. I was asked to mention the Veterans Holiday Dinner that the War Memorial is hosting on December 23rd. It's free for all veterans. If anybody's interested in going, they need to call the War Memorial at 332-4074. As the chief mentioned, Skip Fincham, who replaced me in Grosse Pointe Woods, first was our public safety director there. I think the chief and I are going to go to his final council meeting, which is on a Monday night, to wish him well in his retirement. Second, the chief and I attended Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence's open house yesterday. She's going to be hosting a meeting early in January, along with representatives from Wayne County, for us and for Grosse Pointe Farms on the concrete seawall issue that the county has not. I guess when it really breaks, they come and fix it, but it'd be nice to get a permanent fix to that. We certainly want to mention at 2 o'clock today, we want to thank all of our boards and commissions, and hopefully folks in the audience that are members will join us for a lunch, which usually council members and some of us on staff contribute to make happen, and we thank them for all of their efforts on behalf of the community. And certainly I echo everyone's sentiments about a Merry Christmas and Blessed New Year to everyone. And that's it for me.
Well, again, thanks, Mark, for going to Chicago with Bruce and making our case and our.
We got our fingers crossed for, we're supposed to hear tomorrow around 11. And I will send we presented a package to them and worked off of our own agenda for it. And I'll send you the summary, send to council each the summary sheet, because it was really pretty, I think, pretty explanatory of the efforts that this council has made, the previous council, over the last several years to upgrade our financial status. And I think, as Bruce mentioned earlier, we have only moving forward on it, so.
And I think, Mark, it's already been mentioned, but the last update, or last master plan to the park was conducted in 2002 by Albert Kahn Associates. So we got a bid. It was higher than we thought, but I think we may have an agreement to split the cost with the Improvement Foundation. Brett, I am looking at you, but. And, we have to do it right. We have a wonderful asset, we have a wonderful resource, and we just have to do it right. And so it may be worth the money to get an update by such a very qualified firm. Well, we have no old business. Again, new business has been deferred to the Planning Commission meeting, so I invite any public comment at this time. I have received a few phone calls about the Stack Pool project. I don't think the entire council has seen the proposal that was originally submitted. It was dropped off at City Hall, and early, I think, the day of the election, actually, is when it was dropped off. The buyer hasn't closed, from my understanding. It's been extended. They're conducting due diligence, which is normal, and you'd expect that to take place. And it's been a fluid project. It's evolving. So at this point, though, I do invite public comment, knowing, though, that it may be the Deep Plins project. We did get the letter. And again, we listen. This council is very responsive. We listen. That's why we have the town halls, because, we learn from the residents. And whatever we do, again, has to be done. Our decisions will always be conducted in the best interest of the city. So I invite any public comment at this time. Yes, come on up, please, to the podium. And for the record, if you could just give us your name and address.
My name is Tom Burke, and I've been a member of the community for just sitting here 50 years, which, you think about the time and everything, it's a long time. I grew up in the community. I went away to school in 81. I came back after 81. I lived outside of this community for a few years and came back in 99, bought a house. And I live on South Deep Plins across from this development, and, it's a big deal. I've talked to a lot of people in the community. No one is for it at all. It's a 30 condo unit development. I don't think it's good for anyone that lives on our street. I think in talking with everyone that I've talked with, I've had no one that said they would like this for the for the street, for the block area. Grosse Pointe Shores, one of the reasons we bought in Grosse Pointe Shores is it's a nice community. It's all residential. There's no commercial. There's no business. There's no, you know, it's a nice quiet community. So that's why we bought here. And in talking with everyone in the community, everyone that I've talked to, so, well, you know, what do you guys want out of this development? Well, everyone comes back with, well, whatever balances the street is pretty much a simple answer. So there's about 4 or 5 houses across from Stagpole, so there'd be a balance of 4 houses. And then you could put a street inside the 7 acres with probably 4 more houses. But to let 30 condos, yeah, if we have to fight this, we will. And there's already been representation, you know, legally put forth for this, you know, bad idea. And I'm just here to, you know, share these remarks, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people here that feel the same way, that probably want to get up here and say their, you know, their, whatever they want to say. I like the community, that's why we bought here, you know, 99 till now, I've lived on that street. My parents bought here when I was 6, so I've been in the community 50 years, so I mean, it's, you know, it's a great community. But I'm not for it at all. And I don't know if you can add, I know that the developer Foster wanted 30 condos. He wants to take the house, put 4 units inside the home. But, you know, it's like if you go up Cook Road now and you try to balance those you know, the development that was done by Three Rivers, it's, you know, it's, I don't think it's appealing. It's not good for that Grosse Pointe Woods neighborhood. Sure, it's a great tax grab. It's good for money for the city, but if those homes, 8 homes are done properly, there's a good tax base there for the community, but the 30 condos is not, you know, I just, and I'm talking, you know, these are my personal opinions, but I think the group opinions are about the same. Everyone is not, I don't know of one person that's for it, and I've talked, there's probably 200-300 people that would jump in on this and fight it. So,
Tom, we appreciate your comments, and we
and I don't know if you
appreciate you
can
coming
add
here.
anything from the Foster developer. Can you add anything back that they've said to you, like, okay, if they don't want the 30 units, how about if we do 8 homes? I know Eddie Russell has talked to you, I know the Blakes have talked to you, supposedly, that's just what I've heard. You know, you guys could answer that.
Well, they haven't talked to us, they may have talked, you know.
You have a trustee who's the person who's going to decide who to sell the land to.
Now, say this Foster group still buys it, and they come in with this proposal. There's deed restrictions, and maybe I'm wrong, but according to the deed restrictions, that won't fly, the way the restrictions are wrote. And also, there is easements, you know, there's code, you know, policies, there's all kinds of stuff that, now, you're the group that would have to say, okay, we're still gonna do it.
Well, it would first be presented before the planning commission. It'd be an agenda item. There'd be a public hearing on it. You know, a couple of members of the planning commission, I think, are lawyers. I see one of them here. The 3 of us are attorneys. We're very sensitive of legal issues, and you know, but again, we have to. We're here to listen.
Right.
That's our job, and remember, our decisions are, when we look at ourselves, you know, was this in the best interest of the city? And so,
It would be really premature at this point for us to tell you, are we in favor or not in favor, because quite frankly, we don't have anything to look at. The guy hasn't closed on the property yet. So whatever preliminary ideas or conceptual drawings he has, he's soliciting the input, I know, of the residents in the area. I know there's a meeting upcoming soon that he's invited.
Thursday the
I
7th.
encourage you to go over there and express your opinion wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, simple question sitting in that meeting is, okay, it's at Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, 7 o'clock this Thursday. Okay, hi, Mr. Foster, Foster Development, I'm not sure what their names are. 8 houses, I'm all in. Your 30 condos, I'm speaking for myself, but from what a lot of the people in the area have told me, they're all in that way, but nobody's in for the. And also, and you know, I'm not a lawyer, and I know there's plenty of attorneys sitting here, but if you do a condo association, it turns into a business, so you have you know, the association becomes a business, which again is a violation on the city's codes and city's, easements, cities, deeds, cities, you know. So that's all, I could, you know.
All I can tell you again is that it's premature, because nothing's before the planning commission or us. And for all those questions to be answered, they will be answered in due course, in an open and transparent manner. I know there was some concern that the city's refusing to disclose anything. Anything that we know, we've shared with the community.
You don't have any blueprints, you don't have any plans, so there's
We have no
nothing-
blueprints.
It's all
Some of
just,
the council members haven't seen it.
There's a conceptual plan out there that he's dropped off to the city.
now, is that available to the group?
Sure it is.
Absolutely.
You
So
can
we
go,
can go grab
right
it
after the
upstairs.
meeting, you go look at it.
You're welcome to see it.
It's available for public inspection.
And I believe you're right, there's 30 units or something that under this planned or, unit. There are zoning ordinances, there's an appeal process, there's all the processes to ensure that your concerns are duly noted and incorporated. The legal title deed restrictions are not anywhere of our, they're not within our jurisdiction, obviously. That's between the purchaser of the property, the bank if they sell it subject to, and if that developer thinks that those restrictions don't apply, and he proceeds along, there will be some sort of legal action against that by the aggrieved parties, you know?
And you have a very fine lawyer. I saw his letter, and I own his books. He wrote the book on real estate in Michigan, the 2-volume blue set, so.
I think the thing you should take away from today with the council is, we're not in an adversarial position with you. We're not promoting this project and saying to you, you're gonna get this no matter what. Our position is, we want it open, transparent, legal, and we want them to incorporate the concerns of the community to the fullest extent possible. And if we have to twist his arm to a little bit to make him incorporate our concerns, we're not beyond doing that. But our focus and our goal is to make it the best thing for our community.
Right, that's all,
Then that's all we can do for you. That's what we're here for.
and there's probably other,
And it'll be open and transparent.
maybe jump up and,
Well, but, and then we welcome that. But, again, we also want you to go Thursday to the informational meeting. I think that, that they need to hear.
Absolutely.
We're here to listen. And again, some of the council members told me today they haven't seen it yet. I got a call from an affected resident, says, well, how many feet will the property be, the building be to my property line? And I said, I don't know that. I said, they haven't developed a scale, an architectural rendering to show, there's some pretty buildings, they're all, it's very nicely done, but we don't know the distances, we don't know,
Ted, I want to throw something in here. The developer has pointed out just a few minutes ago, dropped off a conceptual plan with the city. And the conceptual plan is available for anybody to look at. You can look at it informally if you want, you can look at it under the Freedom of Information Act if you want. I am not sure about the setbacks and all that, but it's really until they submit something to the planning commission that shows compliance with all of the planning commission requirements for a PUD, planning and development. It's really tentative. I will comment, just my own personal opinion, what they propose to build is very nice. And that's why I would suggest that you go, Alan.
it's
Suggest that you go to the meeting and have a look at it.
there's 300, there's easy 300 people that'll jump in right now, condos.
I'm just talking about the
I know,
design.
condos are
Talking about the
100%
design,
out.
but that said,
8 homes, probably everybody's in, I'm talking what I hear.
I understand.
Anything that balances, in keeping with zoning and keeping with the neighborhood, that's why, one of the reasons we bought on D plans was half the street's one house. It's nice, quiet neighborhood.
And I think
And
what you should do.
I'm all for development and making the community better and more tax base for the community and blah, 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 but I'm about 99% sure condos are out, even if they're beautiful.
Sure. I think what you should do is take a look at what they've submitted.
Because then you got 60 extra cars, you got, if they have kids, you could have 90 extra cars, you got a sewer system, it's all gonna go down our street unless there's rumor that they might tear a house down on Deeplands Court and put another street in there, and, it goes on. There's a lot of hearsay right now. I'm just trying to sort of let you know where our South Deeplands Court, Stonehurst, Sheldon, Valentine, all the streets in that area that are concerned for.
I think I can represent that everybody on the council is aware of where this is proposed to be two, again, it's really completely tentative until something is submitted formally to the planning commission. Then there's, as the mayor pointed out, there's planning commission review, there's public hearing, at which all those things are considered, traffic, congestion.
Sure.
You know, even I suppose deed restrictions, even though as Councilman Bisbal pointed out, that's something really between the developer and the residents locally.
I'm taking up a lot of time. There's probably a lot of other people who want to.
Oh, well, we appreciate you coming, Tom. Thanks.
Hello. My name is Lynn Best, and I'm just sort of speaking out as a spokesperson, and I appreciate the transparency and that you've said you're willing to listen. Just within the last about 12 hours or so, we've collected 88 names of people who are opposed to the tentative plan development at the Deeplands property, and we brought that with you. So I'd like to hand out copies to everybody so you can look at the names.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah.
50 Fordcroft.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, thanks, Len. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is James Flaherty, and my wife and I own property at 560 Sheldon in the Shores. And I had some prepared comments that I'm going to not cover because there's been a lot of discussion. I just wanted to really make one point, and that is that among the members of this informal group, there has been several references to potential city officials being less than forthcoming about this topic. And I would just like to point out that the semantics of we haven't received a proposal, but we had a conceptual design, that Carlisle and Workman consultants delivered an assessment of the feasibility of the property to Mr. Wollenweber, that the Planning Commission discussed on October 27th, I believe, in some level of detail. Mr. Renaud should be in receipt of, or has received a legal opinion stating that the deed restrictions are an insurmountable burden or impediment, and that rezoning doesn't overcome deed restrictions. And so I think it would help all of us if what I'm saying I believe is true, that there be more transparency and maybe a little more casual conversation instead of relying on the exact receipt of a proposal or maybe a request for a building permit or whatever it is that constitutes a proposal. Let's just be open. Somebody is trying to develop property in a manner that is at best inconsistent with the community. All of these people know about it, yet people talk like it doesn't exist. So I would just suggest that going forward, maybe we use candor with a capital C. And I have worked, by the way, with several of you in different venues that you may not remember because we're all getting on in years, but I know you to be a group of high integrity people. And we'd like to keep this really open.
And we appreciate their
all I have to
comments.
say.
And thank you. I mean, the only thing I'd like to add is, again, I saw the concept on the day of our election here, and our manager said it was dropped off that day. So that, I guess the clock starts running from that day. But I have seen nothing since then. And I don't have it in my possession. It was something that may have been discussed. Alan's on the planning commission, so he may have some further ideas. Remember, there was two people involved here. There's a guardian of the person, there's a guardian of the estate for the Stackpoles. The guardian of the estate was Comerica. There was a private attorney that was a guardian of the person. That's what I'm aware of. The closing hasn't taken place. I haven't seen the offer because they haven't closed, I think. And so at this point, I mean, we're here ready to listen, but we haven't seen anything. I mean, so Alan, I'm sorry, I cut your...
Well, you didn't at all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to Doug and to Tina to this council. It's a good first meeting. This is your first or?
Second.
Okay, the first one was better, I'm sure. Listen, let me introduce to you who I am. My wife and I have lived next to this property for almost 30 years. We raised our children there, and I knew Steve Stackpole throughout all those years. And I have been involved in the village as well as the city in terms of serving on the planning commission And perhaps more significantly, I spent 2 years as chair of the Blue Ribbon Operations Committee, where a group of us dove in, if you will, to everything that was happening in our city. And we produced a Blue Ribbon Operations report for this council. I think I have more than a passing body of knowledge in terms of this community as a result of that. But what I want to talk about today is that the fact that I sit on the Planning Commission, currently, I probably won't be able to sit on the Planning Commission to hear this particular proposal if it ever gets there. And I frankly don't think it should ever get there. I will recuse myself at the very least, because I am opposed to it. I am opposed to this because it's just totally inappropriate for our community, for our neighborhood, and frankly, our deed restrictions are clearly enforceable and will call a halt to any kind of development if it's ever approved, which will then delay the whole process of us finding a responsible builder and developer such as Russell or such as Blake, who could really do a beautiful development there. Now, with regard to the status of the property, I have had conversations with the attorney from Miller Canfield who represents Comerica Bank, which is the personal representative of the Stackpole estate, which is the one that is directly involved in negotiating the sale of the property. The property is not closed. It's been on a continuing extension of an executory purchase agreement while these two developers, if I can call them that, have been trying to figure out how they can get approval for something before they have to close on the property. And one of the issues here that's not well known is that the price that was originally put on the property by the real estate people, $3.5 million, was considered not only by the usual people we rely on here as developers, but by the bank itself as extremely overpriced. These two individuals came in and bid at the asking price or close to it, with the if-come that they could extend their executory agreement until they could figure out if they could build something that would justify it. So it's in effect ass backwards, if you pardon the expression. My neighbor Dick Bania pointed that out to me as why this thing is the way it is. I don't see how this is a proposal that should get to the point of the Planning Commission, because it will fail eventually because of the deed restrictions. That opinion, as your city attorney knows, is from a very prominent attorney from a very prominent law firm, and it is unequivocal that this proposal will not survive litigation on the deed restrictions and easements. So we as a community ought to step back and say, well, are we going to hold this development up for the number of years if it's litigated, or are we going to say, no, this just isn't going to fly, let's see where it goes from here. The so-called purchasers have the right to step up to the bank and write a check for $3.5 million if they want to do it. They haven't done that. Which brings us to another issue, and that is specifically stated in the ordinance for a planned residential development, is the financial viability of the proposed developer. That's one of the key elements to look at. And what we have here is a young fellow whose name is Brad Foster, and the other fellow is named Michael Veruto, who's from the East Coast. Neither one of them has ever done any residential development anywhere. Mr. Foster, I'm sure he's a fine fellow, but two things I came across. One is that he gave an interview to Cranes a couple of years ago. I don't know if you've seen it. I've mentioned it to others, where he says, quote, "My partner and I made a substantial profit on the hotel we owned in Costa Rica and decided to put the money into real estate close to home." That's his justification, his financial justification for why he's in real estate development. He said he made a profit on it, but if you go to the internet, you find out that shortly after he and his partner bought that hotel, it burned down and then subsequently was rebuilt, I presume with insurance money. My only point is, and I'm not saying that he was involved in setting the hotel on fire, my point is that that is a basis for real estate development is really thin, folks. It's really thin, and I think we ought to take that into account. Now, I want to say one other thing. There's been a lot of misinformation coming back to the community about what there has been proposed, whether there's something that's been proposed, and what's been done with the proposal. And to my knowledge at this point, that proposal, it's a book with a lot of information in it, was presented to the city 6 weeks ago, perhaps. I'm just taking a wild guess.
Yeah.
And then that was sent out to the city planners to do an analysis of it. And it was obviously incomplete. But during that time frame, individual council members have not only reviewed that plan, but have talked to the developers and have discussed in terms of what their positions are or will be with respect to that development with each other and with certain community members. And frankly, I know they did it with the best of intentions, but I don't think it ought to be done for two reasons. One is, you talk about the Open Meetings Act, and we've had a lot of discussions about the Open Meetings Act. And it's something that I have a long-standing interest in. Excuse me, my throat's not holding up today. As you know, from my years with the Attorney General's office. And here's the problem. I'll read from a Attorney General Opinion 5364, which says, quote, if a gathering designed to provide information, which is what I presume was the discussion among some of the council members, on matters of public policy, develops into deliberations or leads to decisions on matters, the members will have crossed the boundary of the exemption of the Open Meetings Act. And I think if you're discussing this among yourselves, two or three of you, and you're coming to positions that you say to people in the community, well, I really like this, and you're not including the rest of the council, then I think that there's an issue there in terms of why you aren't including the rest of the council when you're doing that. If you are including the rest of the council when you do that, when you're going to be ultimately deciding on it, then you have another issue. And I'm not trying to be the scold here. I'm just trying to say that a lot of people are upset because they've gotten misinformation.
Well, and I'm not aware that that has occurred. And, that's troubling what you raised, but I'm not aware that that occurred.
It's just the point that I'm trying to make is that there is a sense that these things get preordained. They get predetermined in individuals' minds, and then when it comes up eventually to where it should be looked at in the first instance, it's already been determined by some folks as to what their position is. And that's the only point I'm making.
Well, in our council, we've always strived to be, as you know, to be very, very transparent. We
Well, that's why you
welcome the
guys
input.
are here. Sorry to interrupt, because of the last group wasn't doing that, frankly. And that's why we've got this council, which has been good and dedicated. And I know that from the Blue Ribbon Committee. We looked at what was being done. I know you guys are working hard, but this is an issue that really concerns me and others in the community.
That's troubling what you raise. I hope right after the meeting, everyone goes to look at the concept upstairs.
Well,
It is available.
It
But
is, and it
that's
has
all
been.
we've-
It has been, but when people have called up and said, is there anything, they get a response, no. And that's not good. They should be told, yeah, we've got something here, whatever it is, we don't.
Because a resident called me last Friday and asked, one of the people that you just mentioned, and said, can he see it? And I said, yes. No, he's not here today. But
Yeah.
you mentioned, Dick Benia. He called, and I said, anybody can go look at it.
You said that we've talked to the developers, the council has?
That's what I understand. There have been meetings with one of the developers. There've been some
I can
discussion.
tell you that I have not spoken with,
And I
I don't
haven't.
even know
So
the
I-
developer's office. Has anyone in the council done that? No,
No.
none of us have. We would never do that. That's,
How would you have come to the conclusion then that was expressed that we have looked at the financials of this and think they look really great?
Who said
and other
that?
kinds of things.
I've seen, I don't even know their
I'm not
finances.
picking on anybody in particular. I'm just telling you what's been
I
said.
can tell you,
Of course, I think the world of you, so I'm not, trying to be negative here.
Financials with this guy. I don't even know this guy. Again, I'll reiterate what we said before. Like you said,
it may not even get to the planning commission because they can't develop the property as adjusted. So.
They can't, and that's true, yeah.
Okay, if that's the case, and that's an opinion, a legal opinion, it's premature for us to even do that, to get involved in it.
I agree.
And our position is, let it work itself through. Like you say, if the guy's so confident that he can do this, write the check, you know?
Yeah.
And he hasn't written the check yet. Until they write the check, I think it's all.
But let me just give you an example, Bruce. Our good friend right here just said at this meeting, he thinks it's a good project.
You know, like from an
And I think
architectural
the rule of it, but I
design.
don't know where he comes from on that one.
I think that the architectural design that I've seen is very nice.
Not from a land usage perspective.
Yeah, I didn't, you shouldn't put words in
Thanks.
my mouth or really anybody
Yeah.
else's.
We
I
are,
didn't put a single word in your mouth, and I would never do that. I think the world of you too, and this is the point I'm trying to make, is that this gets kind of casual and it kind of gets
I
discussed.
realize, it, and the residents are concerned, and so are we. We're all, that is, it's, if you think it's moving fast and it's got some sort of endpoint, until this guy can write a check, until the title, the deed restrictions are clarified, nothing matters.
Thank you.
And the
That's all.
legal opinion was just issued. I just saw it yesterday with the
And the
email.
other point is, Alan.
Yes, sir.
If this guy wants to develop the property and he wants to go on the deed restrictions and fight that, okay, as you know, he's gotta write a check.
does, yeah.
Until they put their money on the table, the rest of it's just talk.
You're right. I
That's
agree with
all
that.
And we haven't seen any money yet.
Yeah, thanks.
Tina, do you have a comment?
I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm new here to this community, to this board. I have seen nothing, heard nothing, other than what you're hearing. We all live in this community, so we're all hearing hearsay. But it's important to know, first of all, I have to say, I am very, I don't want to say happy, but the amount of support that you guys are giving each other and coming to us, that really bodes well that our community is concerned about things. Secondly, please know that I'm not going to say yes to anything until it's right out there, and it's not out there. This meeting that's coming up on Thursday, we had some interest in going, but then we heard that it is invite only. So I don't know if they're just trying to get the neighbors together, but if all of you that came today in the middle of the day to show your concern can go to this meeting and say to this gentleman and his group, you know, this isn't going to be easy because we're not going to allow this as a group, then he may see that it's not fiscally responsible and feasible, and he won't write his check because it's not going to be as easy as he thought it was to turn over this property like he did a hotel in Costa Rica. I mean, we don't want anything bad in this area. Trust us that we don't.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Any more public comment? I mean, I think this is all good. I mean, yes.
I'm not an attorney, I'm not a planner, but when somebody casually says the plans look nice, what that communicates to all of us is that it's okay to build attached condos and convert a beautiful home into an apartment. So that's what worries us. When somebody says it looks nice, it means you're okay with the concept of attached condos in Grosse Pointe Shores.
Well, Brian doesn't live in Grosse Pointe Shores. I think what Brian meant, you know, I think where Brian meant, it would look nice in another community, you know. I don't know.
No, seriously.
Because I know you live in another community. Right.
Before you speak, if I might. Very simply, I said that the architectural design of what was proposed looks good. Now, I didn't say anything about how many condo units, whether they're condos or whether they're individual homes or anything else. It's just simply, if there's any concern on the part of anyone here, in my opinion, that these don't fit in somehow, believe me, these guys went to lengths to make it look like it fits in. Now, that has nothing to do with the density, it has nothing to do with condos versus anything else. And that's really my only comment about what they've submitted. And to reiterate, it's not yet in front of the Planning Commission. There's a lot of bugs that gotta be worked out, just like you folks have pointed out, the ones that have come to the podium, not least of which is deed restrictions and other legal issues affecting the development, so, and whether or not a check's been written, so that's really all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, folks. Peter Masuga, 524 Sheldon. My wife and I bought our home right across the street from the Deeplands Preserve, quote unquote. And we bought because A, the neighborhood is beautiful. We bought because it's, the homes are on acre to half-acre lots in the Deepland subdivision. We bought because the subdivision is beautiful and quiet and dignified. And you've talked about this meeting that all of us are invited to. Here's the invitation. The developer is going to show us how we should right-size our neighborhood. That's what it says, right size.
Could you pass that around for us?
Certainly.
I didn't get that in.
Right size, folks.
Okay.
All right? No, I'm going to need that back because we're certainly going.
I didn't get that, sir. Okay.
That's the other piece.
This did
So that-
come. No.
I guess, I didn't.
I want to bring to the attention of the council another thought that you should all have. The Deeplands 7-acre estate is the last example in Grosse Pointe Shores of old Grosse Pointe. There are trees on that property that are 150 years old. There are animals that live on that property that are a joy and a beauty to behold. And the property value that was established at the $3.5 million price, and I can't believe that any competent appraiser would have done this, but he ignored the subdivision restriction that was right on the subdivision plat. He ignored the highest and best use of the property. He ignored the fact that all properties are required to have 1/2 acre to 1 acre lots, and then simply made 17 lots upon the 7-acre estate and said, oh, it's got to be worth $3.5 million. Since it's not worth that because you can't put 17 properties on it, and by the very subdivision restriction that Mrs. Stackpool put on the subdivision plat back in 1954, you can't have condominiums on it. And that is legally enforceable by the city, by the village. Why doesn't the city council think about preserving what's there? You talk about the fact that we're going to have a AAA credit rating. I don't think one person here would think about having another 50 cents in taxes raised or $1 to maintain that property, to buy it, and let everybody enjoy it. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you for coming, Pete. Thank you.
Please let me have my invitation back so I can be so polite to the next vote.
Hi. My wife told me not to speak.
You are, sir?
Ben Best, I live on Fordcroft. The whole back of my house looks into that lot. My wife passed out the petitions. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. Moved into the neighborhood 2 years ago when I was asked to come join St. John Hospital. I love the area, not from the area. Wife's not from the area. 2 kids, 4 and almost 2. They've seen raccoon, coyote. The coyote was something I had never seen before in that piece of property. Bunnies, they enjoy looking into that lot. What Peter said is true. It is a unique piece of property. I've lived a lot of places. It is unique to Grosse Pointe Shores. That's why these people are getting behind it, and they'll continue to get behind it. And I'm not an attorney. A lot of people aren't, but we will rally the common people that elected you together, if necessary, to fight for the preservation, if possible, of beautiful things in this city. I thought it was Tree City USA, if I'm not mistaken. why did Ralph Wilson live here? Why did he choose to live here? Because it's beautiful. And what would he say about, not even condominiums, but 17 even houses that would level 150-year-old trees and cheapen the community in a major way?
We point out about the trees, there's a process. You cannot cut a tree down on that. If that property is developing a tree, you cannot just arbitrarily cut a tree down. It has to go through a very strict process. So those trees will be preserved no matter what the outcome of that property is.
Amen to that.
So
I mean, I think
it's
that's
already in
beautiful.
force and effect.
Well, the
And I can
plan
assure you
upstairs-
that the person in charge of that, one of our residents, has that matter dear to her heart.
Already.
She will absolutely guarantee its enforcement.
The plan they proposed, the one at the top of the stairs, if you walk up there and take a look, the one everybody's referring to, levels everything.
Well, that's what they're proposing. That's not what they're doing.
That's why everybody's here, that's why everybody's upset. I just want to be clear. But thanks for your transparency. I think everybody here would really enjoy your transparency, or enjoy those comments about transparency. You know, it's great to know you guys are on our side in this, you know, as elected officials, that we're elected by the people who pay taxes.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming, Doctor. Thank you for speaking.
Thanks for your time to listen to all of us. It's funny that an Indian guy who's not born in the U.S.
Oh, I'm
Hi,
sorry.
my name is Barney, and I'm Barani, and I'm on 46 Fort Croft, right next to Ben. Been here in the Grosse Pointe Shores, in the area, in the Grosse Pointe area, about 12 years, and in the Grosse Pointe Shores area for the 5 years. Ben, you forgot the bald eagle and red foxes. All right, but that said, besides that, it's funny that an Indian guy who's not born in the U.S. has to maybe first remind the council what the government's duty is. The first duty of the government is to protect the life, liberty, and the property of its citizens. And we are the citizens of Grosse Pointe Shores. Don't say we didn't see the, we haven't gotten the idea, we don't know, we've seen 17 lots, 34 houses on it, but it doesn't fit in. Protect the property of your citizens. So we don't have to go to the court to fight it. It's the government's duty to protect its citizens. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you for speaking. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maria Melham. My husband and I bought at 44 South Deeplands 12 years ago. Him and I grew up in Grosse Pointe Woods. My mother grew up in Grosse Pointe, so we've been here for years. Just want to say that we chose Grosse Pointe Shores, being that we both grew up in the woods, because of the quaintness of it, the small community that it is, and we bought at 44 South Deeplands because we had that beautiful property right across the street. I grew up off Cook Road, so I used to drive South Deeplands all the time. I grew up as a child seeing the Stagpole Estate. And I thought what a beautiful area and street it would be to raise my children. I just want to let you know that I understand, development needs to be made for the city, but I'm asking the city council to please consider me as a face of the community and my children, who are 11, 9, and 4. They play outside almost, I would say, like, out of how many homes on our street, we're directly across from the property. I mean, we basically are looking at a park every day. And I know that can't be the case. It's too good to be true to be like that for the rest of the years that we're here. But, take into consideration the fact that condos on that street just wouldn't fit in. Not in only this proposal that Brad Foster is trying to pull through, but in any proposal that you might get in the future. Somebody like Russell or Blake they know our community. They know what will be good, what will be good for our homes, for our home values. And, you know, we love it the way it is. That would be too unbelievable if it could stay that way. Reality, it probably won't. But, you know, 8, 10 homes. I mean, the traffic down South Deeplands is horrible. My kids are young. I worry every day. There's many young families on our street. Growing up, I don't remember any young families on that street. Our street has many young families now. And if you are to sit there at like 8 in the morning, the traffic going to Liggett is bad. People just fly down the street. Now we have the rivers, so you have to consider that. And traffic studies might come back that it's not too much traffic. But think of it if you're living right there on that street and you're seeing your kids play outside and some guy's going 50 miles an hour down the street. These are things that, like, you know, we're in Grosse Pointe Shores because that doesn't happen. We didn't buy in another community because those things, Grosse Pointe Shores was the quaintness, the smallness, everything that we always wanted. Why change it? Why put more, why not keep Grosse Pointe Shores the way Grosse Pointe Shores is known? I just wanted to make that clear. I wanted, you know, you guys to consider that all the proposals that come through, please just, you're here for the reason of you know, the community, but it's not just tax base, you know, it's families, it's kids, it's all of us here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Again, we're here to listen, and so we've heard a lot. So thank you for coming and giving us public comment. At this point, I'd like council comments. Bob, any council comments?
Yeah, 2 things. I want to take back to the Park and Harbor. I forgot to mention that the Park and Harbor did approve the site location that the Shores Improvement Foundation selected. That was one thing that they wanted to take a look at. They found that was satisfactory.
For the pavilion?
Mhm.
That need to be voted on?
Park and Harbor did, yeah.
Will that come to us to vote on? Okay.
Yeah, that's in the minutes. That'll be probably the next meeting. The minutes were just approved today. Okay. Secondly, just wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and enjoy the springtime weather. As you know, Michigan does pay back sometimes. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Bob. Tina, any comments?
Just Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We are listening. We are here to listen to you. So please, call us if you have any concerns. We are open and ready to talk to any one of you about this Deeplands project or about any project. Again, one of the reasons I ran, and we talked about this, was to incorporate families like that young lady that just talked into activities in the park. I'm really interested in getting some of those things together. So if you have a few minutes that you can spare some time and you want to be involved with some activities at the park, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Bruce, any
We have a-
comments?
Just Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone. There's someone raising their hand.
Oh, yes? Oh, well, please come to the podium so we can hear you better. Oh.
My name is Bonnie Perkins, and I live at 33 South Deeplands, right next to the Stackpole Estate. Stephen and I and our family were good friends. We have lived there 38 years. Before then, we lived on Willow Tree, and before then, Benny and I were high school sweethearts, going to Grosse Pointe South. So we've known one another a long time and have been fond members of Grosse Pointe Shores for practically all of our children's life. I just want to say one brief thing. My kitchen is in the front of the house, and all of you have probably waved to me, because I'm usually there. The traffic is already a difficult situation. The traffic, when the rivers came up, but were built, it became even more difficult. And for the city chief, if he were there on those mornings when that traffic, they don't stop at Sheldon for the stop sign, and they don't abide by the 25-mile-an-hour limit there. They're doing 40 and 45, speeding down the street. You would be shocked to see that. And yes, we have children now in the neighborhood, and yes, our children grew up on that street. But the one thing I want to say about Stephen Stackpole, he would not be at peace or at rest if he knew about what was going to take place on his property.
Thank you for the comment. Bob, any comments?
Well, I'd like to thank all of you for coming this midday, kind of a rare for a council meeting at midday, and it's great to see this kind of turnout and interest in the property. And as a lot of us have already said, we sure welcome your input and we'll certainly listen to it. And I'd also like to thank the administrative staff for the wonderful job you guys have done this year. Again, a terrific job, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you, Bob. Doug, any comments?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. That's all I got. Thank you.
Well, I have a few comments. Again, we talked about there's a volunteer reception here at 2 o'clock, and it's to recognize, and really to recognize all our resident volunteers. Some of you serve on the Planning Commission, the Park and Harbor Committee, all the different organizations or different committees and commissions that help make this city work. We couldn't run the city without our volunteers, and so our city calendar is coming out in the next week or two. We've added 2 new events. We've added in February, I think, the chili cook-off, and we have a classic car show in September at the park. We're trying to attract more people to the park, more interest in the younger families coming to the park. Doug and Tina will be, the 2 new council members will be heading up the new events committee, and they're going to be responsible for overseeing some of these activities. They need your help, though. They need people to volunteer. We have a chess tournament. We have committee chairs. We have a tennis, the tennis tournament. We have other activities, but we're looking to add, and so we need your help. And just call Doug or Tina on that. We've scheduled 3 town halls on Saturday in the upcoming year, and there may be 1 or 2 more added for the Park and Harbor to help us draft new rules, sensible rules maybe, and regulations dealing with the capacity of residents that's permitted in the park. We've heard some complaints. Really, we're kind of like the complaint department, you know, because I've talked to a few of you. Peter, you called me. We've talked, a couple of you have called. And that's our job, is to listen. So, and we had public comment regarding the proposed development. We welcome that input because really, we make the decisions in the best interest of the city. And, you know, also, I'd like to remind anybody, I had a favorable experience. I sold my car yesterday. And it was on, I used the classified ad, and the buyer wanted to come meet me at 9 o'clock last night. And so I was a little skittish about that. So he said, "What's your address?" I said, 795 Lakeshore. I got that memorized. And so he came over here and he says, "I'm here at your, boy, you have a large house." And so he kept going around the block because he didn't, you know, understand that was not my house, but that was City Hall. And then as he pulled out the cash to buy my car, I handed it over to dispatch, and they had a special pen to check to see whether or not the cash was authentic. Wasn't that nice? And a policeman was there, happened to be by, and making sure that, you know, everything was on the up and up. So I just want to let you know that that's one of the wonderful city services that we offer our residents. Because, I mean, can you imagine somebody coming at your house? He was coming from Rochester Hills or Auburn Hills. And so I bring that to your attention. As the year comes to a close, we reflect on the good accomplishments of the year. And, you know, we are very thankful to the Finance Committee. Now Doug is on the committee, Kay Feld, Bob Gazelle, and Bruce, particularly for their work in trying to get a better financial rating for our city by traveling to Chicago. I want to thank Park and Harbor. Bob Brett for working on our infrastructure. He's our expert with the municipal building. We now have a backup generator we didn't have before. We have some wonderful energy savings that we've accomplished through Bob. He's been a busy man. I'd like to thank Alex because he heads up our public relations. So our favorable public relations are really coming from Alex. And he represents the common voice in the community. You know, he can talk and as if he is just a regular person on the streets. And so helps give us insight that maybe we wouldn't have. I'd like to thank, you know, of course, all the employees, the department chairs, Mark Wallenweber, Rhonda, Brett Smith, our chief, John Schulte, all the fine employees that we have. We don't have many employees, but we all have very good employees. And that helps make this a great city. We call it destination city. None of us on the council grew up in Grosse Pointe Shores, none of us. But we chose to live here, just like you've chosen. And I've heard, you know, during public comment, your comments about wanting to find this so-called perfect city. Well, we think we're as close as we can be to finding that. So at that, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Our next council meeting is January 19th. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is closed.
Gotta run and catch a plane.
And you approve that.
They approved that. But the mayor put that all on,
Okay,
because
Standard and Poor's,
okay.
S&P.
that would be not my choice, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, good to see you. Merry Christmas.
have a safe trip, okay?
So
Stay away from them other guys.
I just have to know